if my stream is up and running. Still offline right now, we'll see in a moment. Reload this. And then we also have to make sure my audio balance is good. Let me reload my Twitch stream again. Alright, well, looks to be running. Alright, we're gonna... Yeah, okay, so that kind of works-ish. Cool, cool. That kind of works-ish. Cool, cool. That kind of works-ish. Echo, echo. Cool. Stop watching my stream. Alright, we can hide the overlay. So, alright, today what I'm going to be doing is going over all the maps that were entered into the World Desert Championship map scripting contest. That was made ahead of the event to get some new maps from different deserts around the world. And we had, I think, I don't know, like 17 entries or so. I wasn't involved in the judging this time, but I did make a couple of the entries myself. I haven't looked at the others that much. I looked at the judging page, but I haven't looked at them in the editor, so I thought I'll do that now. And this video will later end up on YouTube, hopefully, with some timestamps for anyone who isn't able to watch it in full right now. So we're gonna want, we're gonna look at the 3v3 versions because this is, from what I understand, mostly a 3v3 event. We're not gonna, actually we are gonna bother with diplomacy. So we'll just do that quickly. If you're here, just send me a shout so I know who's listening. Alright, we'll do that. Also let me know if the audio balance is good. Alright. 5 is 1 and 3. So this will actually be interesting because I haven't taken a close look at many of these maps yet. Cool. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to specifically look at all of the random placement maps first. In no particular order beyond that. Cool, cool. Thanks for letting me know. Hopefully here actually the way you labeled them with random and direct placement, so I don't have to restart the editor too many times. If you want to get these maps, they can be downloaded from the contest page. I think that would be the main place actually for now. Also, it's possible some of these received updates after the fact. These are the versions that were submitted then. So if we notice some bugs, that doesn't mean that those bugs are still present in the final versions. Well, also, after we look at this, we can look at the map pack. I wasn't able to find the version 2 one yet online, but the version 1 is here. Let's see. Alright, so this is Greenland. And in the center we sort of have a gold rush type thing. However, what looks to be perhaps... Alright, actually looks pretty buildable. Bombard tower, yeah, alright, that's all buildable, but you have little individual gold piles here. It's probably hard to build a TC in the middle. And then the players themselves start on like a little icy, basically like El Dorado type start where, but with ice. You have some fish here. The other thing I'm going to have to check for is when maps are upgrading certain trees, that doesn't mess up future maps in the scenario editor. We'll have to watch for that. Let's just see. So this I would suspect is not buildable, yeah. So you can't build farms in the safety of the town center is the main thing there. Got to reed trees. All the stone seems to be on the outside with a fair amount of fish. No extra water mixing, but some nice things done with the ice here. And we have reed trees and dead trees. Just check to make sure everything is set up. Yeah, cool. Now let's just try a couple generations. Somewhat slow to generate. Alright. Yeah, okay, and the little hills are all rocky, but I think that's all buildable too. So it's kind of a gold rush with water on the outside, basically, plus the hard to wall around your town. Then, what do we have after that? We're going to look at Antarctica. That's one of mine, which I know that I did update after this, slightly, to add penguins. From the layout, it looks similar to the previous map. It's another frozen desert. Where here, it's basically this was actually, I developed the gimmick with the tree piles for this map originally. So you have infinite wood, but only in places like the wood and gold. Other than that, very barren, fish on the outside like our previous map. While I'm here, I might as well... No, I don't have it active right now. Then we have hey, that's interesting. All of the frozen deserts are alphabetically in order on the map. And this is Arctic Circle, which is the one that ended up being chosen from those three to go into the event. This one has a lot of fish on the outside, and the gimmick here is that this is all... You can build docks on it. And you probably can't build other things like a Colosseum. Well, that's a bad example, but... Yeah, so you can only build docks on it, but you can send villagers out to collect the fish, and villagers are, of course, very efficient at collecting fish, so that's of interest. And you also have this body of water in the middle to fight for. Yeah, so that's what we're looking at here. I feel like I'm not zoomed out enough, but I guess I am. Just quickly check my graphics settings. Yeah, that's all fine. Alright, what have we got next? Carcross. Alright, this is the mini desert. I did read the description for this one. This is like the world's smallest desert is, in Canada. I think that's just what they use to advertise, but it's a cool looking map, which is very scenic. Of course, not very deserty, because this is the entirety of the desert part of the map. You have a lot of small lakes. You have these hilltop mountains. Plenty of forest. Let's see. So starting towns. Pretty wallable, to be honest. Let's generate another version. I do like the general look of the mountains here with the blending going up. That's nicely done. Understandable why this might not be picked for a desert-themed event, because, well, a desert is an area with not actually sand, that's not a defining characteristic, but rather a low amount of rainfall. I don't know why ecologically the sand is collected in this place. There are a couple places where winds blow sand into a valley, so you have a dune in the middle of an otherwise not desert area. Alright, what have we got next? Central Plateau. I remember reading about this one. So this is supposed to be New Zealand. Essentially, you have this central plateau here, which is very dry. You've got a few stragglers, basically just, dead trees, a couple lakes, and your resources. You're pretty close to the edge of the plateau, it seems. And then you have these 4 mountains that I have to agree with what some of the other people said in the comments, that this is a bit too square. the mountains. Overall, looks a bit too regular. All the wood is on the outside, along with, it appears to be these, well, just some, I guess the player resources can be up or down. So far we've got, most of what we looked at is sort of a round layout, and not very variable for any of these. Carcross was sort of variable, the rest of them were sort of somewhat static, which is unfortunately what ends up doing well in any types of contests for events. Chara Sands, let's take a look. Oh, I believe we actually might have two for this specific locale. It's basically a sand area in Siberia. So, got forest on the outside, sandy, cold desert in the middle. Super close berries, it seems, within the range of the town center. They should probably be a bit further out. There's no specific reason why they'd need to be that safe. I'm not actually going to look at the scripts and give feedback on those. I did that for the contest where I actually assessed them, but I'm not going to do that here. So we do have all these lakes around the outside. That's a cool addition, because it ensures that the lakes are fair enough that you can actually... So does each of them have 4 shorefish? Yeah. So usually the issue with putting in random lakes is that they're not fair, and some players may have them super close and some may have them super far away, but this kind of works. Like that. Yeah. Then what do we have here? Alright, so we have the same locale by a different person. And this one, yes, this is the one that's arena with the walls removed and hills added. I mean, it's basically, it looks similar to the last one we had. The main thing here is the huge elevation, which would have needed a bit more balancing. You can see it on the mini-map, actually. This, you need either more smaller clumps, or not as tall, or some spacing on it or something, to make that a bit fairer. Other than that, it works. It works as a wall-less arena, sort of. The back areas, by being a different terrain, you can make sure that you don't have neutral resources landing there. But there's something with this elevation. This is maybe not using the new balanced elevation attribute, because just look at that. That was problematic. Look at that. Yeah, it's... Poor people here in the south tend to end up with most of the elevation. That's just, I mean, that's just classic AOC elevation bugs right there. Their finest. Alright, let's... Alright, I have to pronounce this properly. Huacachina. Huacachina? Huacachina? Sounds about right. Alright, so we've got a little lake in the middle. It seems to have all the gold here on slopes, and all the relics in the middle too. So basically, if you control the center, you control a lot of the map's neutral gold, as well as these fish, which aren't that many. But it's downhill, so you are at disadvantage from archers and siege. Let's see, so the outside we've got sort of a semi-sparse jungle here. I might have to check. At this point, I wonder if I've messed up the terrains or the tree upgrades yet. It probably is jungle on this map, though. It's sparse, so let's actually take a look at that quickly. I think that's fine, though. Alright, yeah, we're upgrading bushes into the rainforest tree, so after this I'll reload the map. So we don't do that on other maps, too. Well, pretty regular layout actually. You've got the forest to fight for. You're starting gold. You've got these small piles, but you really do need to control a slice of the middle, or I guess in a team game you just have trade set up. Also, there are normal relics around the map as well, in addition to those in the center. Those might need a bit better spacing here. Yeah. Alright, what have we got next? Right, I said I was gonna... Am I gonna worry about this? Let me just... So, the... acacia tree was upgraded into a rainforest tree. I should exit out, yeah. Just in case. Alright, we need 6 players again. I'm not going to bother with the team setup. So far, none of the maps have used roads to connect team members. I guess if you do use roads, that reduces the need for scouting, or it's easier for the enemy to figure out where multiple people are if they find the road. So we are going to do Kalahari as the next one that we take a look at. Alright, I remember this one too. So players basically start in a depression, which also has the cracked terrain, and in this case the cracked terrain is actually making your buildings weaker, I'm pretty sure, rather than just being masked in a cosmetic manner. And seem to have a fair amount of gold in the depression. I'm seeing 4 piles. They tend to be pretty close. This can be dangerous because a tower there, still have 1 gold. Couple towers here, and blue is just in real trouble. Yeah, I mean, having multiple gold piles helps against that. Like here, yellow is fine. There should be 4 gold piles. There should be 4 gold piles. Am I? Yes, I'm counting correctly. There are 4. And once again, 3 they can be easily denied. So I think what's happening here is because they have to avoid the trees, and there are trees in quite a lot of the spaces, there just aren't that many places for the gold to be overall, so you end up with a lot in a same area. That could use some tweaking, probably. Yeah, look, we've got it again here, where the land is sort of elongated and all the gold is in one place. Very easy to deny. Overall, the map looks very nice, though. Also with this outside area. Yeah. It's a lot of gold that you have down by yourself, but it's also all very concentrated. Also easy to defend if you do manage to get something like a TC up there, I guess. Alright, let's take a look at our next map. Oh, I made this one. Namib. This one takes a bit long to generate, I think because of the actor area stuff for placing resources, maybe? I don't know. Or because of the road I was making. Alright, you've got your little oasis in the center with some elephants. Then not very much at all here. I upgraded the bush into an animal skeleton. I might need to restart the game again after this. And you sort of have your starting things. Once again, you know, concentrations of starting things close together. I think the force placement might be problematic here, but got a nice looking mini-map. Alright, yeah, this one generates pretty slowly. And team members will actually be connected by a road. I know this because this is my map, but I didn't set up the teams in the scenario editor just now. So you've got your wood here, and then these straggler trees actually have a lot of wood too. They have as much wood as the small wood line, just for the aesthetic feel. Alright, I'm going to restart the scenario editor again quickly after this generates one more time. They really need a scenario editor button back on the main menu. Alright. Random map. 6 players. 6 players. Oh, Ounianga. Oh, Ounianga? Ooh. So this is another nice looking Oasis style map. You have these tropical looking islands here with some golden relics on them. Realistically, well, I mean, you need water control to even think about having this, and at that point you probably have won. Let's look at the corners. So the corners have lots of food in sort of a muddy looking area. And all the corners are the same in that regard. Then what do we have sort of in the outside? A very mountainous area with, well, some neutral gold and stone, not very much. So overall, yeah, there will be a lot of rushing and early aggression here because you are quite close to the enemy. I guess water control is important just because of how much you can pressure people starting towns. Should generate another one. There we go, some nice flowers. But yeah, so this would be pretty aggressive because everyone starts in the center, often quite close to each other. And most of the resources are also in the central area. Well, the outside desert has basically wood and not even that dense. Oh, painted desert. This one I actually liked for the layering of... It actually looks like the painted desert, like some of those Badlands, which is cool. So you sort of, in the center you have this Badlands area with hills with a bunch of different rock layers. And players are sort of at the edge of that, while the outside is all elevated, always elevated, full of trees. So it'll be tricky to trade, easy to wall off, and there's neutral stone scattered, not always fairly. It seems to prefer the corners, if I'm looking at that, probably because it's avoiding the players. But, yeah, there seems to be a lot in the corners. Yeah. While the center has neutral gold, yeah, and a few small stone piles, and the player resources, of course. So what you do have here is lots of hills close to town centers, so you'll have a fair amount of pressure, archers, and later siege coming in if you don't hold the center. Even if the center doesn't have that much in the way of resources. Alright, then we have Pamir Mountains, which is another one that I submitted. This one did receive some updates where it's not nearly as... It's much more open in the final version that was used. I like this. Oh, hello. I am just going over some maps here. Specifically from the World Desert Championship contest. Yeah, so this is a nomad start. You have sort of these scraggly tops where all the wood is located, and the final version, yeah, it's somewhat, this was updated not insignificantly. Like all the maps that were used, that will end up being used, have been updated. But fun thing, I think this will be fun for casual games as well. You have a bit of ice. I used some tricks to make sure there are passages going through, so you're unlikely to have trapped villagers. Yeah, so basically you sort of have sort of a gravelly desert-ish feel, and you have nomads in the lowland that need to settle somewhere. And a bit of ice. Then we have red sand. Let's take a look at that one. Ah, right. This one also made it in. So this is a cool one where you have 2 starting towns. You have your town center and a scout on the outside with your sort of standard starting resources. And on the center you have 3 villagers, a bunch of goats, and a bunch of gold that's guarded by these lizards. And you have a fence, but this fence is 1 HP, so it's negligible. It's no defense at all. Gameplay-wise, I sort of wonder how this will work out. You also have these lakes, which might be at regular intervals. It looks like they are. That's good for balance, I suppose. How this plays out in the center, though, I wonder. So, I mean, you surely gather your goats. At that point, you probably build a lumber camp. It's only 3 villagers anyway, so it'll take a while for them to gather all that. Then you build a lumber camp and just bring them to your village, I think is what you do. Because you could, by the time that you've gathered all these, yeah, it's not worth aggressively going for other players. First of all, because you have all of these in the way, and because it's only 3 villagers anyway, so why bother pressuring it? The only thing is later on when it comes to gold control, that's when this area might matter. But I think then you just, at that point, you know, you've built your lumber camp with these villagers up there, once you have some. And you've chopped through from the other side, and then later on you take the center when you have army. I think is what you do. Definitely some unconventional gameplay there. Then we have Salt Lake. So let's take a look at that one. This is, from what I understand, it's Ghost Lake. Modified to be... Is that sailable? I bet you it is. We can test said theory with a dock. Oh, I guess it isn't. Give me like a barracks. Give me a stone wall. Sea gate. Huh. Huh. Alright, give me maybe a galley. Alright. So it's Salt Lake. It's Ghost Lake, but you can actually send your ships across it. Although these are only shorefish, so they don't gather super fast. Huh. I need to test this again with the dock, but you can't build a dock. But you can only build a dock over here, because this is using some sort of beach terrain or something. That is interesting. Let's take a wall as well. A city wall? Huh. That's interesting. I'm not even sure that was intended, but certainly interesting. Alright. Other than that, you know, you've got your acacia trees on the outside. Yeah. And we are going to ignore that for now. And we're going to look at Sonora, and I'm going to briefly message my friend. And then we'll be back. Let's do this. We're going to go here. Yeah, just enjoy the music for a moment while I deal with that. Go. There we go. Let me just check Discord as well while we're doing that. Discord looks fine. Hello, hello. Alright, so let's go back to the Sonora and take a look at this. So what we notice here is the striking feature is sort of this area in the middle where this is a idea that I've thought about. I think one other map used it as well, which is basically use a bunch of these desert rock objects, and here you basically it's creating sort of an artificially choke pointed center. I think the final version that's going to be in the map pack doesn't have this many relics in the middle. It still has the gold and I think most of the other features. So what you're looking at is sort of this middle here that will be fought over because it has a lot of individual golds. And you start with some outposts. Because reasons. And what do you not start with? Probably less starting gold. It looks to me like you only get 2 piles, not your third, somewhat further away pile. There's no neutral gold anywhere else on the map, because it's all there. I do like the idea of trying this. This looks a bit cluttered. It looks alright, but it's definitely a very novel thing to try out, which is cool. Alright, then let's look at Soorma. Okay, this is interesting, just looking at the mini-map. Let's see, so this is a non-solid barrier. And the outside has a lot of gold and stone. So you go outside, you build your lumber camp here, you have a bunch of trouble trying to wall it in. I'm seeing lions here that will... Yeah, okay, the lions maybe shouldn't be so close to the lumber, because people will need to... I guess you could build your lumber camp on the center, we'll take a look at that too. So you've got that. And the center is filled with deer. Well, It's also very regular looking, and all the relics in the center. Is the center really worth that much? Yes, if you want the deer, but you just mill it, and you probably go for a safe lumber camp on the outside. Yeah, I don't know, it's a bit bland, this map. Definitely novel from the layout, though. Yes, it is circular. In fact, it's surely it's a circle. Just because the mini-map is distorted, whatever the isometric perspective, it looks like an oval, but I'm sure it's actually a complete circle. Perfect circle, I mean. Valley of Balls, I believe, is this one. Alright, well, Valley of B will do. This is actually one that I was excited to look at because I had not... This is one that I hadn't looked at before. Alright, so... Ooh, I think someone has taken what I did for a Kraken, sort of, putting the cliffs in the valleys. It's cool. And then you sort of have this central thing. So basically it's a stone rush with some gold around it. Or just do these whole valleys have gold in them? They do. They do. And then you have, I don't know, nice looking terrain mixture here. And our bush forests again. I hope I didn't mess up any maps again with the upgrading trees between maps. We'll have to watch that. So these are, some of them are, these are maps from a contest. This was the World Desert Championship had a map creation contest to pick out some extra maps to use for their event. So I'm just taking a look at all of the maps there. I made 4 of them, of these entries, I think. And other people made the rest of them. And I was just going to go through all of them on this stream and take a look at them. Just share my thoughts at looking at them, basically. People can also use it as a bit of a map guide if they want. Or anyone who worked on these maps can, you know, see if I had any feedback. Although actually I'm just sort of looking at them. Which actually at this point brings us to the direct placement maps. I'm going to restart the scenario editor one more time for those. Actually, no, we have a group by team. We can do that one too. Let's do that one too. At this point, though, I need to set up teams. So, yeah, I'm going to restart the scenario editor first. I'm going to do that. Alright, we're going to want 6 players. We're going to want 6 players. We're going to need to set up diplomacy again for this set. So just excuse me while I do that. If you have any questions about anything, you can of course ask. And yeah, so we did all the random placement maps. We're going to be doing the direct placement maps now, where if you're not a random map scripter, that doesn't mean that much to you, but you can sort of see that the positions are relatively fixed and often not circular. That's how you can recognize those maps internally. Yeah, basically they're specifying the exact positions for players, which is why they break random maps in the scenario editor. So first we're going to do Death Valley grouped by team. Let's take a look at this one. Ooh. What am I seeing here? So, alright, so we have another person who's decided to use these objects, which makes a sort of... It's Team Acropolis, isn't it? It is a Team Acropolis with a nomad start, 3 relics and an outpost, and a scout. I mean, it's a nomad start, but of course you're just going to go and find a nice spot here that has wood and gold next to it. Plop your town center there, or like this. Then, but most of the wood is down here. You could walk your town center down there and take advantage of the shorefish as well. So we've got a lot of shorefish here. I wonder if this can be walled. We can check that briefly. Just grab like a city wall or something. Yeah, that cannot be walled. So this is just makes running around on here with archers maybe a little bit trickier, but I think it's just for visual appeal. Alright, so you can end up with a entirely safe back area. That's a lot of safe fish behind your Team Acropolis. The other team has it too, so I guess that's sort of fair. Alright, so yeah, this was the only one that did grouped by team, where you notice it, the team members start close together. Then we're going to go over to the direct placement maps. Yeah, we had a lot of interesting maps in this contest again. That's why I'm doing this, to sort of show them all off. So, alright. So this one, modified, made it into the event as well. So we've got sort of a line. We've got two lines here. Where players are here and here. They start with some, you know, their close resources nearby. Then there seems to be a lot of two sets of forests on the sides, plus enough forests on the back that you don't really need to fight around about the side forests. Big open area in the middle, but the main gimmick on this map is that you have these sort of semi-dry rivers, and the thing here is that ships can sail through them. So it means, well, it means a couple things. It means that you could pressure or be pressured by the sea, but we'll look at that in a moment. It's not as bad as it looks. You have this dry river in the back that you have to think about what you want to do with. But unlike some other places where we've seen sand, this one is wallable. So if we grab our city wall again, you just do that, and then the enemy ships can't get in, and then you build yourself a city gate. Except you don't build city walls because you can't in game, but then you sail your ships through the gate. So at that point, you've sort of blocked off your part of the river if you wall far enough, and then you have some fish to fight over, and then you have sort of this back relatively safe area that could be exposed though to landings or so, I suppose. But anyway, you can tell that this is, these are all direct placement maps. You can tell, unlike the random placement maps, because player positions tend to be either fixed or in a predefined set of symmetrical positions usually. Then we have Karga. Ooh, this one's taking a long time to generate. I think this is the really, really big map script file. Take a look. Alright, so this one is also an oasis, and I'll talk about in a moment on the technical level how this one is implemented, because I know how it is, but so you start in the corners, it seems. Yes. And you sort of have to migrate to the center. That's thematically cool. You start with a priest, but the priest has, or a bard, but he has different stats, so he's not dangerous. Yeah, I think the range is reduced to 1. If you generate it, I'm pretty sure this map looks identical every time. But the way it works behind the scenes is that, unlike most traditional maps, the entire everything is specified by having hundreds and hundreds of individual tiny lands all over the map. So it's basically the entire map. It's basically a fixed, entirely fixed map, but everything is painted and generated or like designed outside of the game to look like this. On the previous map, why they didn't use the water there, because it's supposed to be a sort of dried up river, and so that you can wall it. If you used water, then you wouldn't be able to wall it. They could use the buildable shallows, but the point there was that you were supposed to be able to build on it as well. So actually, so let's go back to this map. So you start in the corner with your things, and you migrate to the center where you have this oasis where it's pretty tricky to find a building spot. You've got a lot of forage and fruit bushes. I'm trying to find the golden stone on this map, and I'm in fact not succeeding on finding much golden stone. There are individual piles out here. Yeah, is this stone? No, it's this, but is there no stone on this map except what's in the corners? It's a big oof. Alright, let me see what's in the chat here. Try generating again. Alright, well, there we go. It has more than one possible layout. It can also be flipped 90 degrees. Alright, so if the golds have plenty, but I'm still... So the only stone those in the corners. I'm seeing that right, am I? That is true. It's true, of course, that if you know these piles have more gold here, I wouldn't be able to see that. Can I? If I select it, can I see that? If I just go select, I can't select it. Rotate. Haha. Select. Relic Chinese. Chinese wild camel. Huh. I can't. Oh well. Takes a little while to generate. Let's see. So the relics are in the center. With a lot of fish. All of the wood here. So it would actually be very aggressive because at the beginning of the game you need wood and food. Yeah, you'll have a brutal battle here. Get your TCs down somewhere. And then you sort of try to control a gold pile. And the teams are set up such that... Alright, they're on both sides of this little eye. Let's generate another one just to check that. They are once again on both sides of the eye. Yeah. Alright. Let's take a look at the next one. Normally there is 800 gold in one gold pile and 350 stone in a stone pile. And you end up with 7 plus 4 plus 4 golds around your starting town. So you can do a bit of math and figure out how much gold a player typically has, minus whatever neutral gold they find. And you end up with like 5 plus 4, so 9 tiles of stone usually on a default style map. Let's keep going. So this is Pag, which is my direct placement entry. You also have a line here where the players are all on the central island. Move over to the side where there's a bunch of wood up on elevation. This, I believe, can also... Well, we have our city wall here. This cannot be walled, but you can have ships on it. And on the other side, you sort of have some islands with extra golden stone and some relics. And the layout is, of course, fixed as well. The only thing that varies is a bit how these squiggly bits on the side of the lands vary. And everything is quite close in the center, so there'll be a fair amount of aggression either here or just walling, while the players in the back are pretty safe, but might have to go for water at that point. At least that's what I was hoping for in designing this. And just a bit of random gold and individual piles sort of on these parts on the outside. Then we have Pampa del Tamarugal. This thing needs to scroll faster so I can actually read it. Tamarugal. Yeah, that's what it is. Alright. This one has a lot of fish. Look at that. And although it's similar to the one that we just looked at, in that the players start in lines facing each other as well. And once again, you'll see that it's basically a fixed layout. So let's take a look. Got some bushes around here. You'll have to go for water here. Haha. Yeah. On all of these maps, especially the ones where you have layouts like this where they're facing each other, you have to pick the right colors for teams, otherwise things can get messed up. On PAG specifically, all of the lands need to generate all of the time. So it relies on you picking the correct colors for the teams, either that or not locking the team positions. So I'm noticing also sort of a denser area here, which seems to be like a gold rush type area with trees as well. So that's an important area to control. You can sort of see it on the mini-map, although there's plenty of neutral gold on the rest of the map too. Just probably way too many resources overall. Oh, look at this, a huge horde of ostriches on the coastline as well. Look at that. A lot of resources. Alright, who wants to be infamous? Alright, let's move on. The problem with all of these maps, of course, is that they look very similar every time you generate them, which is a bit sad, but that's the direction things are heading. This is the Syrian scroll faster. Wadi or something like that. So what we're looking at here is two lines facing each other. That's more typically what you see with direct placement maps. A lot of shorefish. Then we can check with ships again what the rest of the map looks like. And you sort of have the outside, which is... yeah, you have standard-ish resources. You don't have berries, but you have plenty of food to be gotten in this valley here. And then you have some gold and a whole bunch of relics all in the center. And I do believe we are going to test some docking capabilities here. Alright, well you can't build a dock because there's just so many fish in the way. Alright, doesn't look very dockable to me. What happens if you delete the fish? I.e. collect them. Then you can dock. Now, we'll try with the ship. I wonder if you could then sail out of your little pond. You probably could. That being said, you'd have to first collect a whole bunch of shorefish to even be able to build a dock. That's an interesting, probably not quite intended mechanic on this map. Huh. Alright, let's take a look at the next one. That is Suph. I remember this one too. So this is supposed to signify the parting of the Red Sea in biblical times, where you apparently start with a burning bush. Yeah, you can sort of see the fire there, not really, but you can see it a bit better there. And a priest and a relic, and it's a nomad start, but you're basically going to settle right where you are. And the gimmick here is that you have this seabed, which is lower down than the ocean around it, on each side. And yeah, sand ships. Ships of the desert. Ships of the desert. I think on this one though, your ships are separated between two different bodies of water, and you sort of have this choke point in the middle where if you want to fight by land, you sort of have to push your way up through it, which could be tricky. And if the opponent controls ships, they can get a hill bonus shooting down at you. So a fair amount of water control necessary on this map. I like the overall premise, though, that it's cool, cool to represent that, and it actually looks like the sea has been parted. That's what I like about this one. Then we have, oh, that is the entire set of maps that were submitted to the contest. Now I was checking, and I'll show you guys actually. So yeah, this, if you missed stuff, this video will be available for 14 days on my channel here, and will probably end up on YouTube as well, but we're not quite done yet. You can go to mods, and you can't get that specific pack, although we should probably upload that somewhere maybe. You can get it from the website where it was submitted for the contest. I think there's a link on AoE Zone, but World Desert Championship. So this is the map pack of set maps that were made before the contest to sort of help advertise the event and to be used for preliminary streams and so on. And I have subscribed to that. That's the one that's currently being used for the qualifier games that's happening. It seems so. The maps from the contest will be in pack number 2, which apparently hasn't been uploaded yet. There are some nice, very good production value little intro videos for all the maps as well that you can see on YouTube. That's cool. We're going to quickly take a look at these maps as well. I would have shown you the pack 2, which is the ones that were actually chosen, but it seems it's not available yet. Maybe it's not completely finalized. So we're going to take a look at these here quickly. So once again we're going to go for 6 players. And are we going to care about team setups? And no. Alright, that's not correct. Did I not subscribe to said map pack? What are they called? Alright, give me just a second while I figure that out. Actually, we can figure that out like this. That's a trick for you guys too. So if you have a mod like that, is the mod not active? So I'm subscribed to it. It's probably not active, that's the issue. World. Yeah, there we go. That's the issue. Now we should be set to go. Alright, 6 players. I'm testing with 6 players, of course, because this is a team event, and most of the games will be played with 6 players. Alright, so there we go. Yeah. So, let's take a look at these. Are these the new ones? Ah! Aha, there is no version 2 map pack. The maps have been added into the version 1 map pack. That explains things. So I'm going to look at the random placement maps again. So these, we can observe any changes that have been changed from between the ones that were submitted to the contest and the ones that are now in the map pack that's actually going to be used. Some updates might still happen to these two. So we'll start with Arctic Circle, which is representing a place called Disco Island. It's an island off the shore of Greenland, but essentially it could be anywhere in the Arctic, just because this event is trying to refer to specific deserts. That's what we've chosen for that. And I'm seeing here, these players have ended up pretty close together. Did I not? Okay, right. We have a classic issue here where I restarted the scenario editor, but I didn't actually go launch a single player game. So direct placement is breaking all of these random placement maps. Look at this. This is not a proper circle, so we're going to quickly fix that. You'll see how that can be fixed. we just go into single player. We just generate some random placement map. Coastal will do. Ha! So, this is not a desert, you say, but I went over this earlier at the beginning of the stream. A desert is not in fact defined by temperature or by sand, but rather by the amount of rainfall or precipitation. And they're cold deserts. Antarctica is, if you search for the largest desert, that's Antarctica is the largest desert. So there actually isn't much precipitation there. So not every desert looks like the Sahara. Now this stuff should work properly. So if we look at it now random placement should be fixed. Yeah, look, that looks much better for the team members. We also have these penguins here. They're sort of, they behave like little weak. They will attack you, but they're pretty weak. Those weren't there before. They're not supposed to be, well, they're representing, how was it, the great auk or something? Some sort of bird that lives also in the north. There are, in fact, and I only learned this through this event as well, penguin-type birds in the northern hemisphere too. It's not just something restricted to the southern hemisphere. Other than that, not that many big changes to this map. The little penguin islands are the main thing, because we've already seen this. Then we have Atacama. That's... This one we haven't looked at yet because that made it in directly. That was the set map. So on the outside we have this sort of gravelly mountain range. And we're using the snow bushes. I wonder if this map actually uses the snow bushes or if we're still having issues with things being upgraded. I'll check that in a moment. It's probably not using the snow bushes. I can check that. So many scenario editor restarts to make sure this all looks proper. You'd think they'd have this stuff fixed, but I'm actually running on the April update branch, and you can see it's not fixed. You still have to go through, and the scenario editor could really use some love. What was I generating? I was generating Atacama. That's what I thought. These are actually supposed to be bushes like this. Yeah, that's another thing there. So upgraded forests persist across multiple map generations as well. That's something to watch for in this map pack. Alright, so the center is sort of the main forested area, and everything else are just tiny amounts of trees that are hard to defend. So you'll need to basically do a wood rush map and secure a slice of the middle from Atacama. And you also have these sort of little pond areas. So upgrading trees, it lets you change the appearance. Well, in this case it's being used to change the appearance. Specifically, it lets you, for example, this bush forest here is not 100% dense, it's 88% dense. But if you upgrade the bushes into tree of your choice, you can then have that forest be 88% dense. That's the reason why it's being done. Or you could have a mixture where you could upgrade only bush B out of this forest and make that into pine trees, so you'd have pines and bushes in the same area. I'm guessing on Arctic Circle it was being used to make the... I could check. I actually don't know what it was doing there. I'm not gonna check, but we'll have examples of that on some of the other ones too that we can take a look at. Gobi. Let's take a look at Gobi. We haven't seen that either. Ah, right. I remember this was from the matches. So the cool thing from the mini-map wise is that you essentially have water here. Or is it? It's ice. It's ice. It's ice masked over gravel, but it means that you can't easily wall these wood lines in the center on this map. And this player has been super lucky here with the amount of forests they get compared to poor players over here. Actually, they have some trees too. And all of the map stone, if I remember this correctly, yeah, is hidden in these forests here. That's an interesting gimmick that a couple of maps are trying out. So, sort of the middle, you start with a lot of wood around you, or some players do, some of them don't. Look at this. I mean, this is... I mean, correct me if this seems wrong, but... it looks like some players are ending up with a lot larger starting forests than others. Look at this player once again. Alright, this is something I'm gonna have to point out to possibly get fixed, because I think there's an issue where one of the players is getting way too many trees. You can even see it on the mini-map compared to all of the other players. Yeah, I'm gonna mention that. It's always the first player on a team. I'll have to deal with that. Then we have Jalapao. Which this one is a small desert in Brazil that will be skiing shortly. Well, if it ever generates. It's generating very slowly. This was a Vickers-Zini. I think he's using a lot of actor areas, which tend to slow down the map generation. Oh, this is pretty slow. Good thing that we are very patient. Alright, there we go. So, I'm not going to regenerate this one because it was pretty slow. So let's see. Ignore the flags, those are just placeholders, they will not be there. But you sort of start on these dunes with standard starting resources-ish, but all of the map's wood is in the middle. And you have this sea tower, which is actually pretty low HP, pretty low attack, but it helps guard your initial wood lumber camp spot. The outside here, these are bits of jungle, however, there's no actual trees in this iteration here on the outside, so it's just cosmetic to represent the surrounding jungles. All of the wood is in fact in the middle, so lots of aggression towards the central area is what you're looking at on this map. I'm not going to generate again because it's really slow. Karoo. Let's see, Karoo, that's in Australia, is it? No, it isn't. I don't remember where this one was. Yeah, you have the dead trees lying around, but you want an actual forest, usually not just trees. Because I don't think those dead trees on that map have extra wood in them. So on this one you have sort of a dry riverbed in the middle. Or once again, the forests are in the middle. You also have this here, which I assume is unbuildable. Yeah, so that prevents you from building a town center right on the wood. And back at the backs of... So this is a direct placement map, actually, you can tell. Right, because you have teams lined up on each side in a line and not in a circle. So the back you have a very large amount of zebras, guarded by some lions, and plenty of gold and stone as well. And then you have sort of these pretty small bush forests all around. So in principle you have a lot of safe resources, except that you need to fight for this wood in the center, which is difficult to control. Now we're going to take another look and see if we can do any land ships on this map. Yeah, I've seen this one played as well. All of the map pack ones originally. Let's see. So, alright, so we can't wall the slope, it seems. But you can wall this. This is just land terrain. And these pits are just cosmetic. Can we build a coliseum on them? We can. Very nice. Alright. So this was a direct placement map, which means we are now going to skip any random placement maps. These map pack, that just chooses at random one from the set. Those are being used in the qualifiers because they don't get to choose which map they're on, it just randomly selects one of them. Of course, all the random placement maps are now bugged, so we're not going to worry about that. Mount Bromo. We're going to take a look at the remaining direct placement maps. Yeah, look at this. This gets really buggy when you don't do this. And you can see that we have some upgrading trees here. So the effect is on some other maps that this then messes with the trees that you have here too. So we've bugged this out too much. We need to leave. And quickly start a single player match again. Just for a moment. With our favorite default map, Coastal. Alright. So let's see, we were on Karoo was fixed placement. Mount Bromo is not, so we can look at that next. There we go. So this one you guys also haven't seen today from me showing them yet. This is a volcano in Indonesia. And we sort of have a large amount of gold in the center. So it's a sort of a gold rush in that sense, and you're in the crater part of the volcano, in the larger caldera, and you have a lot of small stone and gold piles scattered around, it seems, and then the outside has lots of lush forests and yeah, lots of berry bushes out here too. Lots and lots of those, and some more gold, but no stone. All the stone is in this middle ring, so to speak. Yeah. So this map we've already seen, but we can take a look at it as well again. I don't think there were any major changes to it. Let's take a look. Yeah, no, this map didn't receive any major changes from what was submitted. Painted Desert. Ooh, I have two versions of PAG. That's not good. We'll have to see which one it is. This one didn't have any major changes. I went and fixed the elevation scaling a bit on different sizes to make that more even, or closer to what was probably intended, but basically it's unchanged. That is random placement. We can look at that one. So, is this a newer bug? In fact, this bug has been in the definitive edition since the launch, where it only affects maps that use this new feature called direct placement, where things are placed directly, as we said. The players are placed in a non-circular manner, but those then break any normal maps that are generated afterwards. I do believe here, and then the other thing is, of course, this thing with the upgrading trees that's also messed up across maps. So here, some other map upgraded bushes into these trees, so now we're seeing them here as well. That's just the issue with generating different maps across. But basically, this one was updated to have larger flat areas, and also to have small trees in the flat areas too, and to start with a horse scout. so that you're not entirely without wood if you don't manage to build a town center up here where it's difficult to build one. And just that there's more buildable space overall. Those are the big changes on this map. Red sand, let's see how that one fared. I don't think this one had any significant updates. Yeah. Then we have Simpson Desert. Ah, yes. So ignore these boxes. They're placeholders, or they're actually flares to reveal the central area. This map, yeah, the trees are still... I should go deal with the trees. Sorry about having to restart this so often. This is in fact not my fault. So now if we go to Simpson Desert, yeah, it's supposed to have acacia trees and bush forests on this map. And the gimmick here is you start with a hunting wolf and a spearman, and the hunting wolf can go lure the boar from the center. That's the main feature on this map. The center starts explored. So if we now actually just quickly go here, will the tree upgrades be different too? Yeah, this is what the trees are supposed to look like on this map. Yeah, restarting the game, my game takes like 3 minutes to restart. It's not funny. Alright, Simpson Desert, Sonora. Has this one been updated? Yeah, so the extra relics were removed from the center, so there aren't as many there. And just aesthetically, some cacti and Mediterranean trees were mixed in here to make this look nice and deserty. Also, I'm not playing with 6 players right now for no specific reason. Yeah, that's the main change on this map. I like actually the cactus on there. That looks cool. Then we have Taklamakan, which is a double town center start. You sort of have this nice reed bush forest mixture, but you start with 4 yurts, 4 outposts, and then a second town with everything again. So these double starting base maps are always a bit crazy because you have a lot more to manage. You have to manage a bunch of villagers all over the place. On Thar Desert, we're not going to look at just yet. Umm al Samim. So this one I made, it's one of the fixed maps as well. Yeah, basically we were tasked with making a couple maps for specific locations, and I picked this location from the list of those. So the thing that I used in Antarctica I'm also featuring here, where there's infinite wood but only on tiny piles. And you have a nomad start, but you basically just build your town center where you want. Pretty close to where you start, either on wood or on gold. You have this salt lake in the middle that is not buildable, but you can't have ships on it either. I can tell you that without checking. Other than that, everything is extremely open, and we've seen a lot of people trying to wall around their things, a lot of archer and scout play, and a lot of the games on this map are over quite quickly because there's so much aggression. Don't know if that's a good or bad thing. And then on the outside, you have all the relics being guarded by raiders just for fun, basically. It's never come down to people collecting these relics, but Just adds a bit of flavor to the outlying dunes to have these areas guarded by raiders. So these units will attack. They're on defensive stance, so they won't chase you back home. So we're not quite through yet because I skipped a few direct placement maps. Thar Desert has been updated. So now to make it clear which areas are saleable, we've made that darker sand. So ships can go on that and you can build on this, but it's now dark. It's very clear that's the case. That terrain is also used around the forests, but since you can't build a dock there, the fact that ships can be on it is irrelevant. It's just to prevent this from being entirely walled in. And other than that, I don't think there are any too major changes. Maybe the fish density is reduced. Then I don't know which of these. I think they're basically the same. I think one of them is my local copy, and the other one is the one I sent in. I tweaked some stuff here to make sure that this land actually connects all the time, and you don't have an unlucky case where one of the players isn't connected to the outside. That's the main change for this. And I can just do a bit of shameless self-promotion. This map was the #1 map in the contest. Yeah. Oh, we had a couple really high scoring maps, or quite a few actually. And not all of the high scoring ones were chosen as well because the people running the World Desert Championship will of course want maps from different parts of the world as well. So, for example, there were the 3 Arctic and Antarctic maps were all similarly rated, but in the end we only want one of those because we didn't want that many cold deserts, basically. They were all pretty similar. I don't know. I hope this map will be interesting to play on. I will have to admit that most of my playtesting involves just checking with the AI or just running a bunch of generations in the editor to make sure they're not buggy. So we'll have to see how it plays out. So this is in fact all of the maps. So in this mod, I'll show you again the mod. That you can get all the maps that are in the actual event or in this mod, and all the contest maps you can get. I can probably post a link when I upload this video to the main contest page for that, where you can take a look at them as well. Yeah, so do watch the World Desert Championship. And you can also learn about ecological issues in some of these deserts and so on. And there's some nice introduction videos, like less than a minute each for all of the maps, where you can see basically what I've gone over in considerably more time. Get this mod, you can upvote this mod. And I think that's everything. I might do one more stream in the coming days where I'm just going to make a map. I have some notes and mental plans for how I could do that. I'll just make a chill map scripting stream. So if you want to join for that, I'll advertise that as well. And I think that's everything. If I end up putting this on YouTube, check out all the links down below. There are probably going to be some. And thanks everyone for coming to join in. If you have any specific questions about the feedback I gave on your map, you can always contact me on Discord. So that's all. I'm going to plop over the overlay, and I am going to end this stream.